The strange mystery of the Egyptian helicopter carved into the tomb of Seti I.
Sometimes the world doesn't need explanation. It just needs to be seen differently.
Carter started excavation of the burial chamber within Tutankhamun's tomb, and he found the intact burial of Tutankhamun, which was contained essentially within 9 protective layers.
With that in mind, let's begin. Surrounded by shifting sands and millennia of mystery, the Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a silent testament to human ambition, but also to technological mastery we still can't fully explain.
We cannot, in any sense, underestimate their abilities. We also can't know all the secrets.
Its base is aligned with true north, with an error of only about 3 minutes and 40 seconds of arc, which is less than 1/10 of a degree off. When modern engineers compare that precision against surveys using theodolites and GPS, they marvel, especially given the tools supposedly available 4,500 years ago. To achieve that alignment, ancient builders would have needed to know astronomy, geometry, and surveying techniques far more advanced than what the surviving artifacts imply. Researchers propose they used stellar observations, tracking stars near the celestial pole, and bisected their arcs to mark true north. Alternatively, some suggest they used solar shadows at the equinox, drawing circles around a gnomon and using the intersecting shadow tips to derive east-west lines. These methods, though elegant, require flawless execution, a challenge even with modern precision instruments. Survey data from recent remeasurements support the idea that the pyramid's builders executed a best-fit straight line across multiple face segments, yielding an orientation error among the smallest ever recorded for any ancient structure. Then there's the internal layout. Passages, chambers, air shafts, all fitted into the overall grid without significant angular distortions. The internal geometry mirrors the external precision, implying each element was calculated in advance, not adjusted haphazardly during construction. The intersections of shafts and chambers align so precisely with the outer base axes that even modern designers struggle to maintain. Given this clarity of design, theories emerge that the Great Pyramid was not merely a tomb, but an engineered machine, perhaps intended as a resonant structure, energy transmitter, or astronomical instrument. Those ideas remain speculative, but they stem from facing the uncomfortable truth.
I came with so-called New Age ideas about the pyramids, believing that they had something to say about the lost continent of Atlantis and so on. And when I encountered bedrock reality at the Giza Plateau, it didn't add up to those ideas.
The architecture looks less like trial and error and more like pre-planned technology built to exacting tolerances. Skeptics counter that all this precision could fall within human capability scaled across many workers and checks, using copper tools, leveling water trenches, and iterative alignment. But the lack of construction plans, the absence of detailed engineering records, and the sheer perfection achieved invite suspicion that more was involved, whether lost techniques, external knowledge, or even influences now forgotten by history. In recent decades, new imaging projects like scan pyramids have revealed hidden voids and anomalies within the Great Pyramid using muon tomography and infrared scanning. Those discoveries hint at internal complexity beyond what our models predicted, suggesting the original builders might have worked with internal spaces or mechanisms that required alignment from the inside out as well as externally. Ultimately, when standing at the base of the Great Pyramid and observing its edges converging into a flawless peak,
the first monumental stone structure ever built was constructed by the architect Imhotep, who was later venerated and worshipped for his knowledge and wisdom.
it's hard not to feel it was designed by minds thinking in orders of geometry and precision beyond the era. How a Bronze Age civilization mastered alignment, leveling, and internal coordination at this scale remains a question that challenges both historians and engineers. The Great Pyramid is not merely a tomb. It is evidence carved in stone of a civilization that understood precision in a way that even today strains belief. Ancient Egypt's obsession with the stars is no secret. The pyramids of Giza align almost perfectly with Orion's belt, while temples across the Nile Valley echo celestial patterns with uncanny precision. But here's the mystery. How could a Bronze Age culture achieve such astronomical accuracy without telescopes, advanced mathematics, or computers? For some, the answer lies beyond Earth itself. The constellation Orion was sacred to the Egyptians, tied to Osiris, their god of resurrection. Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, marked the flooding of the Nile and was associated with the goddess Isis. The pyramids, temples, and even burial sites were constructed to mirror these stellar deities, suggesting a worldview where heaven and earth were inseparable. Yet the degree of precision raises eyebrows. Some researchers argue the alignment of the Great Pyramid with true north is so exact that only advanced surveying tools or outside instruction could explain it.
Look at the Great Pyramid's alignment. It's aligned very, very close to true north.
One of the most debated cases is the Orion correlation theory, which proposes that the three pyramids of Giza replicate the three stars of Orion's belt. Not only are the positions strikingly similar, but the layout even accounts for the offset of the dimmest star, Mintaka. To skeptics, this is coincidence. To believers, it's evidence that the builders encoded a star map into stone, a message, or perhaps a memory of contact with beings who came from those very stars. Egyptian texts add fuel to the speculation. The pyramid texts and later coffin texts often speak of the pharaoh ascending to the heavens, joining the star gods in the sky. While mainstream Egyptology interprets this symbolically, others see it literally. Instructions for returning to the home of advanced visitors who once walked among humans. Archaeological discoveries make the question sharper. Inside the Temple of Dendera, astronomical ceilings depict star charts that rival modern planetariums in their accuracy. The famous Dendera zodiac shows detailed constellations and celestial alignments, knowledge supposedly centuries ahead of its time. How did a society with primitive tools map the heavens so well? Some theorists suggest direct contact. Across the globe, myths tell of gods descending from the sky, imparting knowledge and demanding monuments in their honor. In Egypt, these deities often appear as hybrid beings, half human, half animal, echoing the idea of non-human origins. Could these stories be distorted memories of encounters with extraterrestrials, preserved through religion and ritual? Skeptics argue that ancient Egyptians were simply brilliant observers of the night sky, using naked-eye astronomy over generations to track patterns. But even then, the scale of their achievement remains staggering. Aligning monuments with solstices, equinoxes, and specific stars required calculations so exact that many modern engineers admit they'd struggle without sophisticated instruments. What deepens the mystery is that the alignments weren't only symbolic, they were functional. Temples like Abu Simbel are engineered so that sunlight illuminates statues on exact calendar days.
The sun rays reach all the way through the temple, illuminating these figures in the sanctuary.
Marking astronomical events with split-second timing. This goes beyond art. It suggests a scientific mindset that may not have been rediscovered until much later in human history. To this day, Orion and Sirius dominate Egypt's most enduring myths, and their architectural imprints continue to inspire speculation. Were the pyramids simply grand tombs tied to the heavens? Or are they evidence of a forgotten age when humanity, or something not entirely human, reached across the stars? The monuments remain silent, but their geometry whispers a riddle. Either the Egyptians mastered an astronomical science far beyond their time, or they were taught by those who had already mapped the sky. In 1898, during excavations at Sakara, Egypt's sprawling necropolis, archaeologists uncovered a small wooden figure unlike anything else in the tombs. Dated to around 200 BCE, the artifact has the body of a bird, but with wings shaped uncannily like those of a modern airplane. This relic, only 7 inches long, has fueled a century of speculation.
It's just a bird, a carving of a bird. So what makes it so mysterious? Well, first we have to ask, why is it there?
At first glance, mainstream Egyptologists classified it as a simple toy or ceremonial object. After all, bird figurines were common in burial sites, symbolizing the soul's journey into the afterlife. Yet this particular bird lacked the features expected of ritual pieces. It had no feet to perch, no detailed carving to identify species, only broad wings, a central fuselage-like body, and a tail that appeared broken or missing. Those details opened the door to far stranger interpretations.
It's a wooden carving of a bird, and at first glance, this Sakara bird doesn't appear to be anything special. It's only when we examine it more closely that the real mystery is revealed.
By the mid-20th century, aviation experts began examining the object, noting that its proportions were strikingly aerodynamic. Unlike a natural bird's curved wings, the Sakara artifact has straight, flat wings, ideal for generating lift in man-made flight. When models were built and tested, researchers found the object could indeed glide if fitted with a proper stabilizing tail. This discovery raised an unsettling question. Was the bird a symbolic toy or a scale prototype of lost flight technology? Engineer Khalil Messiha, who studied the artifact extensively in the 1960s, argued it was more than coincidence. He suggested the missing vertical tail was intentional, hinting at an advanced understanding of aerodynamics. His claims stirred enough interest that the artifact became central to Egypt's Air Museum exhibit, where it was displayed alongside modern aircraft models. Skeptics pushed back, insisting that human imagination is simply retrofitting modern concepts onto ancient art.
A model of a giant bird? What use would that be? And there weren't any giant birds in Egypt anyways. All of the other models are of real practical things. But an aircraft, now that would be useful.
They argue that with over 5,000 years of Egyptian history, it's inevitable some objects will coincidentally resemble modern inventions. To them, the Sakara bird is nothing more than a toy kite, or perhaps a ritual model designed to invoke the god Horus, the falcon deity of flight. Yet the counterpoint remains. Why does it differ so much from other avian carvings of its time? Why does its design match glider principles modern engineers still use? And why was it placed in a tomb, if not as something symbolically or technologically important? Adding to the intrigue are accounts from modern flight tests, when replicas of the bird were reconstructed with the hypothesized vertical stabilizer. They achieved surprising lift and glide distance.
This is an amazing experiment. It will prove whether or not the ancient people had knowledge of flight. And if they did, the implications are staggering.
Some even argued the artifact might have been part of a larger experimental system, like kites or gliders harnessed for unknown purposes. Though no evidence of full-scale aircraft has ever been unearthed in Egypt, the artifact's peculiarities remain hard to dismiss. Even stranger, the artifact surfaced during the same era when other anomalies like the Antikythera mechanism in Greece began hinting that ancient civilizations may have possessed technical knowledge far beyond what history credits. Could the Sakara bird be Egypt's counterpart, a surviving clue to experiments that disappeared from record? Mainstream scholarship has settled on conceptual object or symbolic carving, but the artifact's aerodynamic properties keep its legend alive. It sits today in the Cairo Museum, quietly challenging visitors with its shape. Whether prototype or coincidence, it forces us to reconsider the limits of ancient Egyptian knowledge. The Sakara answer, yet in its silent wings lies the possibility that the ancients once looked to the skies, not just in myth, but in engineering, and that possibility, however small, is enough to keep its mystery airborne. The The Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the most recognized monuments in the world, yet it remains one of the least understood. While its weathered body and mysterious face draw millions of visitors, the true intrigue lies beneath its paws. For decades, whispers of hidden chambers have circulated, suggesting that the Sphinx guards more than just sand and stone. The first modern hint came in the 1990s when ground-penetrating radar surveys revealed unexplained cavities beneath the monument. These weren't minor cracks or voids in the bedrock, but large geometric spaces suggesting intentional construction. The discovery instantly revived legends of a hall of records said to be buried somewhere near the Sphinx. According to ancient lore and theosophical writings, this hall could contain the lost knowledge of Atlantis or advanced technologies that predate dynastic Egypt. Egyptian authorities acknowledged the radar scans but stopped short of full excavation. That hesitation only deepened the mystery. If the chambers were natural, why restrict further exploration? The refusal to investigate openly has fueled theories that officials know more than they admit, and that revealing what lies beneath could rewrite human history. Supporters of the Hall of Records theory point to the Sphinx's anomalous weathering as evidence of extreme age, possibly thousands of years older than mainstream archaeology allows. If the monument truly predates the pharaohs, it's not impossible to imagine that whoever built it also hid archives of their civilization underground. The sealed chambers then wouldn't just be tombs or storerooms, they would be a message from a forgotten epoch. Not everyone agrees. Egyptologists argue the voids detected by radar may be nothing more than fissures caused by natural erosion. To them, the Sphinx is a product of the Old Kingdom, and tales of hidden archives are fringe speculation. Yet even within academia, there's acknowledgement that the refusal to fully excavate leaves an uncomfortable gap in the evidence. Adding intrigue, multiple expeditions have noted tunnels near the Sphinx. Some reports describe sealed passageways leading from its rump toward the plateau, while others claim that ancient restorers themselves discovered and blocked off shafts. Though hard proof remains elusive, the persistence of these stories suggests that the Sphinx is more than a simple monolith carved from bedrock. Alternative researchers argue the secrecy around the Sphinx aligns with a larger pattern: restricted access to key archaeological sites in Egypt. They suggest that authorities may fear disrupting the official timeline of history. After all, if chambers beneath the Sphinx revealed technology or texts predating the pharaohs, it would upend the foundation of modern Egyptology. In 1997, journalist John Anthony West and geologist Robert Shaw pushed for more investigation after their seismic tests also suggested subsurface anomalies. Yet despite international interest, permissions were blocked and the Sphinx was left undisturbed. To this day, official excavations beneath it remain off limits. Whether the voids are natural hollows or intentionally crafted chambers, their existence is undeniable. What remains contested is their purpose and the reason for keeping them sealed. The Sphinx has guarded the Giza Plateau for thousands of years, staring. Then the monument may still be guarding its greatest secret, waiting for the day someone dares to open it.
The structure carved into the tomb of Seti I.
Deep in the Temple of Seti, the first at Abydos, lies one of Egypt's most controversial enigmas, the so-called Abydos helicopter. On a section of ceiling beams, hieroglyphs appear to show machines that have no place in ancient history. A modern-looking helicopter, what resembles a tank, and even shapes echoing submarines and airplanes. For some, it's visual proof of forgotten technology. For others, it's nothing more than a trick of the eye. The carvings first gained international attention in the 1990s, when photographs spread across alternative history circles. Zoomed-in images revealed uncanny outlines, a helicopter rotor, a fuselage, and even overlapping forms resembling armored vehicles. The precision startled viewers because these were not vague shapes. They bore sharp, mechanical lines that looked deliberate.
Abydos helicopter. The name comes from a set of hieroglyphs found above a doorway within the temple of Seti I in Abydos. The hieroglyphs appear to show modern machines.
Mainstream Egyptologists quickly offered an explanation: palimpsest. In simple terms, hieroglyphs at Abydos were recarved over older inscriptions during later reigns. Over centuries, plaster fell away, leaving overlapping symbols that accidentally formed these futuristic outlines. According to this theory, what looks like a helicopter is actually layers of symbols merged by erosion. But critics find the explanation too convenient. If random overlap explains the helicopter, why does it also produce what looks like an airplane and a tank, all in one panel, all next to each other? The odds of so many accidental resemblances forming a coherent fleet seem improbable. Conspiracy researchers argue that the images are too precise to dismiss as coincidence. Some go further, suggesting these carvings are fragments of memory, visual records of advanced machines witnessed by Egyptians or their ancestors. This theory ties into broader claims that Egypt may have inherited knowledge from a lost civilization, or even had contact with extraterrestrials. After all, similar arguments arise when people analyze the star alignments of Giza or the technological precision of megalithic blocks. Abydos fits neatly into this narrative, a cryptic hint of high technology embedded in sacred walls. Adding to the mystery, Abydos wasn't just any site. It was one of Egypt's most important religious centers, linked to Osiris and the mythology of death and resurrection. Why would engineers or priests accidentally carve something so bizarre in such a sacred temple? And if it was merely bad carving, why preserve it rather than smoothing the surface and reworking it? Alternative researchers like Eric von Daniken seized on these images as part of the ancient astronaut argument. For them, the Abydos carvings are not mistakes. They're records of visitors with machines beyond human capability. While mainstream academia resists this, the carvings remain one of the most cited proofs in ancient alien literature. Skeptics counter with hard facts. In 1954, archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary near the Great Pyramid of Giza, a massive pit sealed with limestone slabs. Inside lay thousands of wooden fragments, carefully buried for over 4,000 years. These pieces were no random collection of planks. They belonged to Khufu's solar boat, one of the most astonishing feats of ancient engineering ever discovered. The vessel was constructed from Lebanese cedar, a wood imported across vast distances. When reassembled, the fragments formed a boat more than 140 feet long, rivaling the size of modern yachts. What stunned experts was not only its scale, but the craftsmanship. Over 1,200 components fit together seamlessly without nails, relying instead on sophisticated mortise and tenon joints, a joinery system still used in advanced woodworking today. The precision of the construction immediately sparked debate. How could a civilization over 4 millennia ago produce such intricate prefabricated pieces, transport them, and ensure they locked together flawlessly? Some researchers argue the boat reveals a level of technological sophistication that exceeds the expected capabilities of the Old Kingdom. The purpose of the vessel is equally mysterious. Egyptologists describe it as a solar bark intended to carry the pharaoh's soul across the heavens with the sun god Ra. But the boat wasn't symbolic alone. It was fully functional. Its design shows it could have sailed the Nile with steering oars, a keel system, and a construction method meant to flex in water rather than break. In other words, this was no mere ritual object. It was a seaworthy craft. The choice of materials deepens the puzzle. Lebanese cedar was prized for its durability and straight grain, but transporting massive logs from distant mountains to the Nile Valley would have been a logistical nightmare. Did the Egyptians possess advanced trade networks and engineering strategies that we still underestimate, or were they tapping into knowledge, possibly maritime expertise, that hints at global contact long before accepted history allows? Another striking detail lies in the prefabrication. The solar boat's pieces were cut, shaped, and prepared with such precision that thousands of years later, conservators were able to reassemble it like a giant 3D puzzle. This suggests intentional design meant for disassembly and reassembly, a concept more at home in modern manufacturing than the ancient world. Some researchers go further, suggesting the solar boats were part of a larger technological tradition. The discovery of a second sealed pit containing another disassembled vessel, still untouched, implies the Egyptians deliberately buried ships with engineering care that rivals today's preservation methods. Why go to such lengths if the boats were purely symbolic? Alternative theorists argue the vessels could hint at an even greater mystery: advanced maritime knowledge. If Egyptians mastered shipbuilding at this scale, could they have explored far beyond the Nile, perhaps even across seas? Mainstream archaeology hesitates at such speculation, but the solar boats leave the question wide open. What remains undeniable is their precision. Every plank, joint, and rope was engineered with a skill that challenges assumptions about ancient woodworking. Far from crude, these boats embody craftsmanship so refined that it continues to baffle scholars and shipwrights alike. Khufu's solar boat isn't just a relic, it's a silent testament that the builders of the pyramids may have been far more advanced in technology, logistics, and engineering than we dare to admit. Beneath the sands of Sakara, hidden in the dark passages of the Serapeum, lie some of the most baffling artifacts in all of Egypt. Enormous black granite boxes. Each one weighs between 70 and 100 tons, with lids alone tipping the scale at over 30 tons. Their surfaces are polished to a mirror-like finish, and their interior angles are cut with precision that rivals modern machine tools. To this day, no one can fully explain how they were made. Mainstream archaeology identifies these monoliths as sarcophagi for Apis bulls, animals worshipped as sacred incarnations of the god Ptah. Yet when the boxes were opened, they were empty. No remains, no inscriptions, no burial goods. If these were truly coffins, why go to such extremes in crafting them, only to leave them bare? The construction itself raises even more questions. These boxes were quarried from granite and diorite, stones harder than iron. Modern diamond-tipped tools struggle to carve them, yet the boxes display flawless right angles and polished interiors. Engineers who have examined them argue that their finish suggests high-speed machining or laser-like cutting, methods far beyond the reach of Bronze Age tools. Transporting them only deepens the mystery. The Serapeum's tunnels are narrow and uneven, making it nearly impossible to imagine maneuvering 100-ton blocks into place with ropes and manpower alone. Even today, heavy machinery would struggle in such confined spaces. How then did the ancients accomplish it thousands of years ago? When French archaeologist Auguste Mariette rediscovered the Serapeum in 1850, he was struck by the scale of these boxes and their peculiar emptiness. Over time, scholars stuck with the Apis bull explanation, but alternative researchers argued that the boxes were never coffins at all. Instead, they might have served a completely different purpose, technological rather than ceremonial. One theory suggests they were resonance chambers designed to harness or manipulate energy. The extreme precision, combined with the acoustic properties of granite, fuels speculation that these boxes may have played a role in generating sound or vibration for unknown functions. Another theory claims they could have been storage containers for something dangerous or valuable that has long since disappeared. The absence of inscriptions is particularly telling. Egyptians inscribed nearly everything: tombs, temples, even simple storage jars. But here, in the supposedly sacred resting place of divine animals, silence reigns. It's as though the makers deliberately avoided leaving a record, or perhaps the boxes were created by a culture predating Egypt itself. Some researchers link the Serapeum boxes to the larger puzzle of lost ancient technology. Just as the Great Pyramid's construction defies easy explanation, these boxes push the limits of what we believe ancient Egyptians could achieve. Were they truly the work of hammer and chisel, or evidence of advanced methods forgotten to history? Skeptics argue that ancient craftsmen with enough time and labor could achieve remarkable results. But even this doesn't account for the logistics of moving such colossal pieces underground, nor does it explain why no Apis remains have ever been recovered inside them. The most that can be said with certainty is that their purpose remains unresolved. Visitors who descend into the Serapeum today describe the site as overwhelming. In the dim light, the black boxes loom like silent sentinels, their polished surfaces reflecting faint glimmers in the dark. They feel less like coffins and more like vaults guarding secrets we still haven't unlocked. Whether funerary, functional, or something beyond human imagination, the Serapeum boxes remain an engineering riddle that challenges everything we assume about ancient Egypt. And until their true purpose is uncovered, they will continue to stand in the dark, daring us to solve the puzzle they were built to keep. And if you're hooked by these mind-bending discoveries, make sure you subscribe. We've got even deeper secrets coming, and you won't want to miss the next chapter of Forgotten History. Beneath the sands of Giza lies a mystery that Egyptologists still struggle to explain. Discovered in the 1990s by archaeologist Zahi Hawass, a massive subterranean complex was unearthed near the causeway of Khafra's pyramid. Locals called it the Tomb of Osiris, though no one can say for certain what it truly was. What they did find, however, challenges even modern engineering. At first glance, the structure appears to be a series of descending chambers carved directly into solid bedrock. The deeper explorers went, the stranger it became. The lowest level revealed enormous granite boxes, each weighing many tons, precision cut with a mastery that suggests advanced tools or techniques. These were not ordinary sarcophagi. There were no markings, no inscriptions, nothing to identify who they were made for. It was as if they were built for function, not for ceremony. Adding to the mystery, the chambers were not dry burial vaults, but flooded with water. Underground waterways flowed through the site, making excavation extremely difficult. Some researchers argue this feature wasn't accidental. Instead, it may have been part of the design, suggesting the entire complex functioned as more than just a tomb. Mainstream Egyptology cautiously interprets the site as a symbolic shrine to Osiris, god of the underworld. But alternative theories push much further. Some suggest it was a ritual complex where water played a role in sacred ceremonies of rebirth and immortality. Others claim it might have been a massive energy device designed to harness the interaction between stone, water, and the earth itself. What fuels these theories is the level of precision. The granite boxes are astonishingly smooth, their surfaces polished like mirrors in places. Engineers who have examined them question whether such cuts could have been achieved with simple copper tools, as the standard narrative insists. Even with today's diamond-tipped drills, replicating such work in the same conditions would be a challenge. And then there's the sheer scale of excavation. The complex dives deep into limestone bedrock, descending multiple levels with corridors, shafts, and chambers, all aligned in a deliberate layout. Removing that much stone would have taken an immense effort, demanding not only manpower but also architectural structural foresight to construct something so precise beneath the desert thousands of years ago raises unsettling questions. Some explorers argue the water-filled design resembles modern hydroengineering concepts. Flowing water beneath heavy stone can generate vibrations or even electrical charges. Could the so-called Tomb of Osiris have been an ancient power station designed to tap into natural energies of the earth? While such ideas remain speculative, the architecture itself does not easily lend itself to ordinary explanations. Adding to the mystery, no royal burials were ever found inside. Unlike other tombs, it lacks inscriptions that glorify pharaohs or gods. In the quarries of Aswan lies one of Egypt's most puzzling relics, not a finished monument but an unfinished one. The massive, unfinished obelisk, if completed, would have stood taller than any ever erected.
Obelisks were huge stone structures. They were monoliths found all over Egypt. They were absolutely incredible.
Weighing an estimated 1,200 tons, but it was abandoned mid-carving, leaving behind clues that continue to baffle researchers. Unusual tool marks etched into solid granite. Granite is one of the hardest stones on Earth, ranking far above copper on the Mohs hardness scale. Yet the quarry walls and the surface of the obelisk show smooth, curved cuttings that look less like chisel marks and more like impressions left by a mechanical device. Some grooves appear as though a massive drill or saw had sliced directly into the rock, something far beyond the capability of simple hand tools. Egyptologists generally attribute these marks to dolerite pounders, harder stones used to chip away at granite over long periods of time.
The archaeological historical background of the unfinished obelisk site is have two main phases. The first phase, the work which done by Engelbach, the British archaeologist, who done a long season in 1918, excavating the body of the unfinished obelisk. He actually uncovered all of this body of the obelisk with trenches. And the second phase, it's the work done by the Serapeum Council of Antiquity, 2002, and cleaning and excavating the whole site of the quarries and actually finding a lot of new stuff there.
But skeptics argue that the explanation doesn't align with what is physically visible. The quarry marks are too uniform, too clean, and in some cases, too deep to have been made by pounding with loose rocks.
The hammers which they were using, which this one, they used them in a wrong way, not in a special way like the rest of the other guys.
Even engineers and stonemasons who have studied the site admit the evidence points to something more advanced.
Here we will see the famous scoop mark, and we will also see two different other methods of extracting the stone.
One of the strangest aspects is the spiral-like scarring found on granite surfaces, resembling the traces of modern core drilling. These patterns match what one might expect from a tool rotating with high speed and downward pressure, peeling layers of granite away in a controlled fashion. Yet no such drills exist in the known archaeological record of ancient Egypt. The issue deepens when comparing Aswan's unfinished obelisk with granite statues and temples across Egypt. Many colossal structures, like the granite sarcophagi